What is up guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, what I'll be doing is discussing how you can win more fights in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 8. These tips are going to be relevant for all players, whether your main focus is just winning regular matches, gaining arena points, or even to place in tournaments. If you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like on it and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more content just like this in the future. Believe it or not, only around 10% of people watching these videos are actually subscribed, so it would really mean a lot if you could hit that big red button if you want to see more. And finally guys, if you'd like to show some extra support, then consider using code Teckoh in the item shop. It's absolutely free for you and it really does help out way more than you think it does. With all that said though, and without further ado, let's get into today's video. So hopping straight into it, my first tip for this video is to master your early game before you worry too much about your actual fights. Now I know this video is all about how to win more fights, and you're probably wondering how early game is going to help you win more fights, but it's actually pretty simple. If you optimize your early game, you can come out of your drop spot with better loot, more materials, and more mobility, all of which are going to help you get tons of kills later in the match, not to mention the potential for off spawn kills as well. So when it comes to mastering early game, the first thing you're going to want to do is find a drop spot. When it comes to drop spots, the typical recommendation is to have one spot that's really consistent, you land there a ton and get really good at it, and you use it to get the most kills possible. And while that strategy is definitely viable, what I actually recommend doing is something similar but a bit more enjoyable. Instead of only having one drop spot, what you're going to do instead is select 3. These spots are going to include one popular POI, think something like Pleasant Park or Corny Crops, basically one of the most populated areas on the map. Then you'll have a mid-level POI, aka an area that has players but isn't heavily contested, think something like Stealthy Stronghold or Retail Row. And finally, you're going to have one quiet spot, which is basically just a spot that's rarely contested where you can go and just play passive and not have to worry about spawn fights. A few of those might include the Lighthouse, Rainbow Rentals, or Flush Factory. Now obviously the spots that I've named for each playstyle are really just examples, but the overall idea is to have one spot that's super populated that you can wkey at, another spot with a medium population that you can use for just regular games, and then finally a quiet spot where you're rarely contested and you can focus on placement. This strategy is amazing for all types of players in my opinion, and will allow you to vary up your playstyle depending on how you're feeling and possibly based on points if you're in a tournament. From here, basically what you'll want to do is learn each of your spots like you normally would, figure out the best loot routes, the best ways to rotate out, and do all that fancy stuff. By doing all of this, what you're basically going to be able to do is win more early games, and you'll also be able to adjust as well if you're feeling like going more or less aggressive, which can all help you get more kills and win more games. So now that we've got early game down, hopefully that gave you a bit of insight as to how you can optimize your off spawn strategy. Now we'll be getting into some actual fighting tips, what you came here for, starting with a beautiful thing called Peace Control. At this point in time, pretty much all of us know what Peace Control is, but if you don't know yet, Peace Control is basically just controlling your fight through builds and edits. Peace Control has definitely been the main meta throughout the past few seasons, and Season 8 is no different. So with that said, practicing your Peace Control is going to be a critical aspect of improving and winning fights in Season 8, whether you're trying to drop high kills in regular matches or hold your own against pro players. Being able to pull off quick techniques and box up your opponent can give you a massive advantage, especially against good players where the entire fight is really just to see who can get the opponent boxed up or confused first. You have plenty of ways to practice Peace Control, but for now I'm going to give you a really good map that I've seen tons of pro players using and that I've personally used and recommended for a while, and that's Skavik's Peace Control map. This map has 17 different Peace Control scenarios as well as some other Peace Control free builds, all of which are going to help you learn Peace Control techniques and outplay people like crazy in game. Taking some time to master the various drills in this map can help you a bunch in so many different situations, so it's definitely something that I recommend if you're looking to improve and win more fights. Since there's a lot more to cover in this video, I won't go too crazy in depth on the map itself, but I do recommend you hop in after finishing the video and give it a shot. With that said, I'll toss the code up for the map on screen right now. Moving on from that though, my next tip is to grind creative fights constantly. I've been sort of back and forth on creative in the past, but with the insane amount of high quality practice maps that are out there and the amazing fighting maps that we have access to, it's pretty much a no-brainer at this point that grinding creative is going to help you win fights in game. There are plenty of ways that you can practice fights in creative, whether it's through box fights, zone wars, realistic 1v1s, build battles, or something else, but the general idea is that you find players around your level to practice against, and then you just focus on playing it like you would a real fight. By doing this, you're basically going to be able to simulate an in-game fight while at a much faster pace than an arena game, which might take upwards of 10 or 20 minutes just for a few quick fights. In order to find people to go against, you have a few different options. The first option is to join a Discord server and find someone there. You can join a scrim server like Open Scrims or G2 Scrims to find people, or you could even join my server, which has looking for group chats for every single region in Fortnite. My server is going to be linked at the top of the description if you're interested. You also have websites like rematch.gg, which allow you to play ranked fights of all different sorts so you can level up and go against people close to your level. Basically, it's like a Fortnite 1v1 website with a ranking system. system. And finally, most PvP maps in creative should have a matchmaking portal as well, so if you don't consider yourself advanced enough to play against scrim players or play in ranked game modes, then you can also feel free to do that. Either way, whichever way you decide to practice fights, I'd really recommend utilizing creative and grinding fights in there, as it's one of the simplest and most efficient ways to improve at fighting at this point in time. Moving on to our next tip though, and this tip relates pretty closely to grinding creative fights, and that's grinding arena. Arena is another one of those things that really helps you master the most realistic aspects of fighting, since obviously it's a real game. While I do recommend you grind plenty of creative fights to improve your core mechanics and skills in terms of fighting, it also is really important to utilize those skills in a real environment, which is why grinding plenty of arena could be super helpful. As well as that, you've obviously got the usual benefits of grinding arena, like hitting champs and being able to play other tournaments, and having a ton of points is obviously a cool flex as well, I suppose. Overall though, balancing your creative and in-game practice is absolutely key, so be sure to utilize both creative and arena to maximize your improvement. On to our next tip for this video though, and I'm sure plenty of my regular viewers are already expecting this tip, and that's to review your fights. VOD reviewing is something I recommend in just about every single video that relates to fighting, but that's because it's simply so useful. In Fortnite, the truth is that every single time you lose, you've done something wrong. I know that to some of you guys it may sound like common sense, but a lot of players are going to die in game and really think they did nothing wrong and were just doomed to lose no matter what they did. But the truth is that's not the case, and just about every single time you lose in Fortnite, there's something you can learn from it. Whether you pushed a fight that you shouldn't have, or you made a suboptimal edit that got you shot, or anything in between, being able to figure out what your weaknesses are in fights and then work to correct them is honestly going to be your biggest key to improving at fighting and become an absolute beast in Fortnite. To VOD review your games, all you've really got to do is make sure that your replays are turned on and simply play the game like you normally would. Whether you're running creative, public matches, arena, or even a tournament, you can VOD review and learn from just about any type of fight. Simply head into replay mode, take a look at your fight from both perspectives, and try to figure out where and how you went wrong. And then after that, think about what you can actually do to improve and stop making the same mistake in the future. If it's something like missing a shotgun shot, then maybe run some extra aim duels. If you made a poor edit, then maybe practice optimal edits and piece control in that situation in creative. Overall though, the message here is that you can learn from just about any fight or any situation in this game, and the ability to find mistakes and learn from them is easily one of the biggest traits that separates pro players from the rest of us. So the next time that you take an L in Fortnite, instead of angrily hopping into another game, take a minute to look back and see what you can actually learn from it, and I guarantee you're going to improve. With all that said guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video on how to win more fights in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 8. Hopefully these tips help you out to improve at the game, play more consistent, and win more fights, whether you're a competitive player or someone who's just trying to get a few more kills in regular matches. If this video helped you out, be sure to drop a like on it and consider subscribing as well. Only around 10% of my viewers are currently subscribed, so it would really mean a lot if you could go and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on future videos just like this. And finally, if you'd like to help your boy out a bit extra, then consider using code Teckoh in the Fortnite item shop, as it's completely free and it really helps out a ton. With that said though, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.